Hello, welcome to Mondays with Maya. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the number 4, Mondays with Maya. Welcome. Hello. Thank you for joining. Hello. So today we are talking about failure. We're talking about how we deal with failure, the negative voices in our head when we fail, and what we can do to push through that, what I call that shitty committee in our minds. So I'll start off by recapping some of my biggest failures, because I think it's so important to destigmatize. We need to destigmatize failure. I know that at the beginning of every course that I teach, one of the very first lectures that I do is me talking about all my failures, and that's when the students tend to lean in to what I'm saying. Hi, everybody. So we're talking about we're talking about failure. So obviously one of my biggest failures was, oh my gosh, Steve. Every single time we do a live thing, Cooper decides that's the exact moment he needs to chew his bones. So it took me 3 tries, for those of you who don't know. It took me 3 tries. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Rosalie. It took me 3 tries to get into the Masters. 3 years. Oh my gosh, 3 years of my life it took me to get into the Masters program. It took me a long time. And then I finally get into the PhD, and I changed my topic, and I changed my supervisor, and I changed my committee. And then 6 weeks before I graduate, I get a brain injury and have to take a 6-month medical leave of absence from the program. Okay, go Cooper. Cooper's just passing through now. And then, long story short, I go back, I finish my degree, and then I decide, it takes me 2 years to make the decision. Am I going to go be an entrepreneur? Am I going to go get a full-time job in... What's Cooper? Oh my gosh. That was Cooper who just moved everything. And then I decide, no, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Every single person I knew shit on my idea. Like, every single person was like, are you nuts? This isn't going to happen for you. You don't know what you're doing. You're not an entrepreneur. Nobody believed in my ideas. One of the very first talks that I gave, there was like 17 people at the bottom of a church. I have given talks over the past like 3-4 years now, from 17 people up to almost 1,000 people now. I've given talks in the middle of clothing stores, in empty recital halls, bottom of church basements, empty hotel rooms, half full hotel conference rooms. You name it, I have given a talk in some place. Some of them are good ones, some of them I learned from, but I'm sort of failing continuously, but I hope that I'm failing up. I hope that I'm learning from my failures, because we talk a lot about that in my workshops, right? Failure is just information. Failure is just information. Hi, Shara. But one of the things that holds us back from taking that risk is that shitty committee in our minds, right? So when we make a mistake, you've heard me say this 1,000 times, we think we are the mistake. When we fail, we think we are the failure. And that internalization is something that the research has shown to be different for men and women. Now, of course, not all men have an abundance of confidence, and not all women suffer from a lack of confidence. But in general, women tend to handle failure differently. We know that men tend to brush off their failures easier than women do. We tend to ruminate. You ruminate, I ruminate. We go over and over and over in our minds, replaying every little thing that went wrong. And it's these moments that then hold us back from reaching out of our comfort zone and trying to take a risk again. I cannot tell you how many colleagues, friends I have that have ideas, fabulous ideas, and they stay in here, and they stay in their office, and they stay on their USB disk, and they stay in their computer, and they don't put their ideas out there because they are fearful. In the book, I talk a lot about the fear, right? So we're afraid of failure. We're afraid of not being liked. We're afraid of being judged, of ridiculed, of being mocked, of being laughed at somebody saying, that idea sucks. Oh, hi, Mimi. We're afraid of making the wrong decision, right? Is it possible because our manager makes us feel bad for making it? Yeah, for sure, Rosalie. Yeah, like a toxic environment can absolutely perpetuate feelings of doubt and really make you second guess yourself and make you scared to make a mistake. Sometimes we work for great managers and sometimes we work for inspired leaders. And there's a difference between the two. You work for an inspired leader when you already know what's going to happen when you make a mistake, because you have that freedom, you have that breathing room to allow you the grace of making a mistake, learning from it, talking about it, and then it's like failing up. We're afraid of someone saying, I told you so. I told you you'd never do that. I told you that idea was stupid. I told you this business would never work, right? We also fear that our time has passed. It's too late for us. We're too old. We're too young to try this. We don't have enough. We're not smart enough. We don't have the right workspace. We don't have enough money. We don't... This is Cooper. He's joining in. We fear that we don't have the right look, that we can't speak in sound bites, that we're not good at public speaking. So all of these fears keeps us from just pushing out of our comfort zone and trying that new product, idea, service, something, whatever it is that is sort of filling you up. I can't remember if I mentioned this last time, but there was this really great quote by Jim Quick. And he said, oftentimes when we feel burnt out, it's not because we're overwhelmed with the demands of our life, but it's because we have not spent enough time doing the stuff that makes us feel alive. We haven't spent enough time doing the stuff that fills us up. And the stuff that fills us up tends to be the stuff that kind of scares us, right? So for me, every time I give a talk, I still get nervous. Every time I go in front of a crowd of people, I still get butterflies, and I friggin' love it. I love the nervousness. I love the butterflies. I love the sweaty palms. I love the racing heartbeat because it means I'm doing the right thing. It means I'm definitely not in my comfort zone. Even though I love public speaking, I still am trying to learn from it. And so I wanted to talk about what happens when we fail. There's nothing to fear, but yeah, I've heard that one. That is a good one, Mimi. There is nothing to fear but fear itself. So I wanted to talk about some of the things. Oh, hold on, I just dropped my paper. Some of the things that go through our heads when we fail. When you say something that you wish you hadn't in a meeting or whatever, or you thought it was a great idea and then it came out and you're like, oh, it sounded better in my mind. What immediately is coming through your mind? What is that? What are those thoughts coming through your mind? Are you saying, that's okay, you're amazing, keep going? Or are you really saying, fuck, that was stupid, that was a shit, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid, why did I say that? When I ask my students, what comes through your mind? What are the first words on replay when you've said something and it wasn't the right answer in class? And it's heartbreaking to hear what they have to say. I'm a loser. Yeah, total self-doubt. I'm a loser. I'm an idiot. I'm stupid. I shouldn't have said that. Everyone's laughing at me. Everyone thinks I'm stupid. But the most heartbreaking one is, I'm never going to speak up again. I'm never going to raise my hand again. Because of that fear of what other people are going to think of us, or that fear of, holy shit, I just tried something, got out of my comfort zone, and it failed. I often talk about this example from a class that I taught 2 years ago, and it has stuck with me ever since. It was a summer class, and a summer school class, McMaster, and it was a small class, maybe 50 of us. And hello, who has joined? Laura, hello. And I was asking the class questions, and this one guy, hi Natalie, and this one guy raised his hand, and the answer was wrong, it was off. And I was like, no, that's not the answer. And then he raises his hand again 3, 4, 5 times in a row. I mean, his answers were so off the mark, like way off. I was like, what? Like, are you sure you're in this class? Because your answers are like so off, right? I was like making a joke. And his his answers were wrong. He raised his hand in that 3-hour lecture 12 times. 12 times he had the wrong answer. And then he said out loud in front of everybody else, you know what? Let's go 13 for 13. What? When have you ever heard a woman publicly fail 13 times in a row and then call attention to herself and say, you know what? It's fine. It's all good. I'm going to give it a try. That blew my mind because, that was an extreme case. He answered 13 questions incorrectly in front of 50 people, and it was nothing for him. And I will have women in a meeting or in a classroom afraid to answer a question one time and get it wrong. And you know what happened? At the end of that class, I knew his full name. I knew who he was, where he was on his journey to school. I knew where he wanted to be after he graduated. I knew who he was. And yet I found out afterwards in that class that there was a girl in that class on the highest level scholarship you could get. And I didn't know that. She didn't share that. I also found out a girl in that class had published her own anthology of poetry. I didn't know her. She didn't share that. But the guy who was willing to fail 13 times in a row, that's who I knew. And that really sort of stuck with me. And it was because of that moment that I thought, oh my gosh, I have to get these kids, I have to get these students, I have to get these women, I have to get these people out of their comfort zone. Hi, Crystal. Out of their comfort zone and speaking up and advocating for themselves, because it's so important to do that. But one of the reasons we can't get to that point is because we don't have a lot of self-compassion for ourselves. Do you ever notice the words that you use to help somebody else when they have failed, and how different that lingo is for yourself when you fail? Just one second. Oh, my papers keep falling. So I think that we get better with failure when we get better with self-compassion. And the research on self-compassion is so robust. It really can help change our framework to be kinder to ourselves in order to pump ourselves up. If I were to ask you right now, everybody listening, everybody who listens later on YouTube, tell me right now the top 10 things that you suck at. Give me the top 10 failures. Give me the top 10 most embarrassing moments of your life. You would know them like this. And if I were to say to you, okay, now I want you to write down on a piece of paper in 2 minutes, give me 10 things that make you awesome. Give me 10 of your greatest accomplishments. Give me 10 of your greatest achievements. Would you be able to do that? I've been doing this for 2 years, this question. And among the thousands and thousands of women that I have spoken to, I haven't yet had somebody fill that up. But you know what I do get? I do get more often than not a blank page. A blank page is the most common response when I ask a group of women, regardless of age, regardless of education, regardless of career achievements. I have done this with high school students, and I have done this with women board of directors. And the most common answer is a blank page. Women look at the women to their left and to the right of them to see what they're writing down. How many things are they writing down? They don't want to seem too cocky, so they don't want to write too many things down, but then they think, well, maybe that thing wasn't good enough. Maybe I shouldn't highlight that. I gave a talk once, and we went around the room. There was about 35 of us in the room. And I said, everybody out loud right now, tell me what is on your list. Read me out what is on your, what are you proud of? What are your achievements? What are your accomplishments? And we got to number 35, the 35th woman in the room. And she couldn't give me one. Her paper was blank. And I said, there's got to be something. There has got to be something. And then I said, tell me what you do for a living. And she said, I'm a hospice nurse. I'm a hospice nurse. I said, you make such a difference. You make such a contribution. Can't you see that your very vocation, what you do every single day, matters to people? But she couldn't see it. She had almost no self-compassion for herself, but yet she was spilling out being self-compassionate to others. And so we talked about this for about 10, 15 minutes, and we were all crying at the end. Because I was a hospice volunteer for 10 years. I worked with the dying. I worked with hospice nurses for 10 years. I know exactly what they do. Their job is so important. And she was such a phenomenal young woman. And so it crushed me that she couldn't see that. And so let's break down what self-compassion is. So it really has three components. One is being kind. Being kind to yourself. It is self-kindness instead of self-judgment. Self-kindness instead of self-judgment. And it sounds kind of simplistic, like just be kind to yourself and boom, you'll get it. But it's way deeper than that. It's way deeper. It's about recognizing when you're using self-deprecating jokes. When you get complimented, do you push the compliment away? Do you try to make a joke out of it? Or do you acknowledge it? Do you own your truth and your space and where you are? Do you have sort of an incessant self-criticism loop going through your head at all times? That's self-judgment. That's the opposite of self-kindness. Self-kindness is about recognizing our imperfection. It is about recognizing our imperfection, hi Leanne, and then not judging yourself in that moment. So in that moment of being overwhelmed, or in that moment of anxiety, or in that moment of despair, do you have the internal resources to practice self-kindness, or is your automatic script self-judgment? And that's tough, and that takes a long time to make the switch. And so don't be hard on yourself if you're not getting it all the time. You have to practice it. So when that negative voice starts coming on, when you are calling yourself names, when you catch yourself using self-deprecating humor, when you are not saying thank you when complimented, that's self-judgment. That's when you're not practicing self-kindness. And that's when you sort of need to be attuned to that. And then I'll give you steps on how to get there. So the second part of self-compassion, the first part was self-kindness instead of self-judgment. The second part is recognizing our common humanity. Recognizing our common humanity instead of feeling isolated. So that is a recognition that we're all in this together. That we are all in this together. That we're all starting on ground zero. That we're all messing up. That we're all learning. Right? It's about recognizing that we're not as alone as we think we are. Our failures are not isolated events. We are tied to everyone else and how they're feeling, right? Because when we're in pain, we tend to magnify the negative and minimize, hi Cassidy, and minimize the positive. And so we forget about the blessings in our life and we catalog the mishaps. We forget about the blessings and the miracles and the progress and the accomplishments in our lives, and we just keep track of the negative. We just keep track of the mistakes. And that's what, and that is what the common humanity recognition is. That we are in this together. That we're not so isolated. And then the third part is mindfulness. Being mindful of what is, right? Being mindful in the moment. What if we're kind to ourselves but others aren't? Other maybe don't think we need self. Yeah, that's like all the time, every day. And that's why we need to have that internal resolve. Jackie, that's a great question. That's why we need to have that internal resolve so that when others are unkind to ourselves, we can recognize that and acknowledge that we have boundaries and that we can step away, or that we can advocate for ourselves, that we don't have to be people pleasers. We don't have to allow people to treat us in that way, and that sometimes we just become more resilient to other people's passive aggressive comments, or other people's doubt, or other people's nasty critiques that aren't meant to help us grow, but are just meant to sort of put us down. We build that internal resilience when we build our ability to be more self-compassionate. So being mindful in terms of self-compassion is about breaking that negativity script, right? That ruminating, shitty committee, always playing or replaying your past mistakes. And so this is something that I really work on for myself. So every talk that I give, every appearance that I make, whether it's on radio or television, or I do a workshop, every single one, I have my husband who works with me full time, my research assistants, and right after we go through what did not work, what joke failed, what moment did I lose the audience, what worked really well and what didn't. And we write it all down. And right after the talk, I spend maybe 15, 20 minutes immediately afterwards when everything is fresh. And I'm like, okay, this was awesome. This was great. This was good. And then we immediately go through what we need to work on for the next talk. And if there's any technical glitches, we talk about all of that. And then I have to consciously let it go. I have to consciously let it go and practice self-kindness. I gave a talk, I think it was in November. There were 600 people. And the friggin' clicker did not work. The clicker was on a delayed reaction. The clicker had a life of its own. The clicker decided to turn the slides when it felt like it. And the way this talk was built, the way that I had built the slides up, was that I spoke and it made sense to see the slide at the same time. So everything was timed. I had every word timed to the slide. And when that didn't work, I could feel myself like, oh my gosh, I have 600 people looking at me. Oh my gosh, this damn clicker's not working. And I just had to ad lib. I had to deal with it. And then afterwards, immediately, actually, Leanne, you were at that talk. Immediately, when I got off the stage, my shitty committee started playing in my mind. And I was like, oh my gosh, worst friggin' talk I've ever given in my life. That was exactly what was going through my mind. I was like, that was idiotic. That was horrendous. I looked like I wasn't a professional speaker. I looked like a joke. 600 people now will never recommend me. 600 people will now never want to read my work or whatever it was. I was going over and over and over in my mind. Even though people were like, no, it worked out fine. It was no, immediately my go-to script was, I suck. That was awful. I'm never going to live this down. And so I had to literally talk myself out of that. I had to be like, okay, Maja, stop magnifying the negative. Stop minimizing the positive. I was so impressed. Yeah. See, you were impressed, Leanne, but I wasn't impressed with myself because in the moment, that was very humiliating for me. In the moment, I was sort of internally maybe a little unraveling, but afterwards, I really had to practice the self-talk. I had to pump myself up and remember common humanity. Remember, we're all together in this, that other people have failed and it's okay and I'll fail again and all of that is okay. So I had to really practice that. So self-criticism and judgment and that internal dialogue, that running commentary, right? That no one asked for, but we're always at the ready to supply. We do it to ourselves in the most brutal and callous ways. When you when you go out for dinner, let's say, and maybe you ate a little bit more than you wanted to eat. I frequently love 2 servings of desserts. But what do we say to ourselves when we've overeaten at a party, dinner, restaurant, whatever? Immediately we're like, oh my gosh, I'm such a fucking pig. Oh my gosh, I'm so gross. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Why am I doing this, right? Instead of just being like, it's all good. I overate. It's fine. Tomorrow will be a better day, right? When you mess up, that immediate internal dialogue starts happening, right? When we fail, when we bomb a job interview, you walk out thinking, that's it. I'm never going to be employed again. I suck. I'm never going to get out of this shitty job that I'm working. I'm never going to move up because I can't handle job interviews, right? Instead of just assessing, okay, what went well? What do I need to work on? And then moving on, we have that running commentary, that shitty committee, right? That negative internal dialogue that we have to break. So I had a meeting with some colleagues and we were waiting for somebody to arrive, and this woman had arrived. I think this is Tara. Hello. And we were waiting for this woman to arrive, a colleague of mine, a brilliant colleague, has multiple degrees, so smart, such a great person. She arrived late to the meeting. And instead of just saying, thank you for waiting, or okay, maybe if she wanted to apologize for being late, whatever, she gave us a 5-minute litany of reasons, basically, why she sucked. I'm so sorry, my alarm didn't go off, the GPS wasn't working, I started driving, and then I realized I didn't have gas in the tank. What kind of an idiot goes for a work meeting without checking the gas tank? I can't believe it. She just went on and on and on. And as the story got longer, she was using more self-deprecating jokes and words that were so harsh to herself that the rest of us in the room were just kind of like, oh, like how much does she hate herself? What is going on? It was such an awkward experience. And I had to approach her afterwards and be like, you were just late for one meeting. That's it. You didn't have to bash yourself repeatedly for 5 minutes. And I often hear that with women, that we're just so tough on ourselves. We would never be this tough with someone else. And that's actually one of the tips in the self-compassion research is, how would you handle this failure if it was happening to somebody else? How would you talk through your friend who is dealing with this failure, right? And so the reason why practicing self-compassion is important is because it gives you the breathing room between that negative thought and a new thought. So when that negative thought automatically comes, it allows you the breathing room. Hi, Ashley. We're talking about failures and self-compassion. And so self-compassion allows you breathing room. Oh, you're back. Oh, okay. I didn't see you earlier. It allows you that breathing room between the internal automatic negative criticism and then the belief that you are that criticism, right? So the next time you fail, you fuck up, whatever it is, right? The next time you do that, check what those immediate first thoughts are. Check what that immediate lingo or phrasing is, because for many of us, it's the same phrase again and again. I'm so stupid. I'm an idiot. Why did I do that? This is stupid. This is foolish. Everyone's going to laugh at me. Everyone thinks I'm dumb. This will never work. My ideas will never work. Like all of that kind of stuff, right? And so when you fail at something, even if it's something minor, like you gave an idea at work and it got shot down, ask yourself when those negative thoughts start coming up, ask yourself immediately, is that helpful or is it harmful for me? Is it helpful or is it harmful? So where do sort of these low levels of self-compassion come from? It comes from, hello everybody that's joining, Emily, Livia, and I don't know the other person, but hello. So it comes really from our early childhood experiences. People who have low self-compassion tended to be raised by overly critical parents. Maybe you grew up in a dysfunctional family or you suffered some type of trauma or childhood trauma. But, the research shows the most important thing is you can grow your self-compassion. You absolutely can grow your self-compassion, just like you can grow your confidence. It's part of having a growth mindset. So having a growth mindset is the belief that you are not born with innate skills or traits or talents or intelligence, that everything can be learned. Everything can be grown. People who have a fixed mindset believe you were either born smart or you're not. You're either born with athletic ability or you're not. You're either born a dancer or you're not. You're either born an entrepreneur or you're not. Whereas people who have a growth mindset believe everything can be learned. Everything can be learned. So if we can learn to practice self-compassion, we can decrease levels of anxiety. We can decrease levels of stress. Learning to appreciate yourself has a lot of benefits, right? Because you start to really count your blessings instead of your mishaps. You start to catalog your successes instead of your failures. Practicing self-compassion changes your internal negative dialogue. And because I have been practicing self-compassion, when I got off that stage with that technical difficulty and all my slides were off by like 5 seconds and I was a little rattled, I was able to shut down that shitty committee in my mind relatively quickly. Although it still went, I was able to talk myself off the ledge there and practice self-compassion. So you want to practice self-compassion when you have failed. When you have failed, when you've made a mistake, when you are feeling overwhelmed with life. So how do you do it? Let's go through some of the tips and some of the ways that you can practice that. Okay, so the self-compassion literature shows that physical or warm touch makes a difference. So for some people, it can just be like just doing this, just putting your hand over your heart and just feeling your heartbeat. For some people, it's, I applied for it. At first I was like, no, but then I quickly realized it was fear. There's only, yes, that's amazing. That's amazing. You decided to apply for a new position at work. And yes, I know, because your internal dialogue, thank you so much for sharing that. Your internal dialogue was basically saying, no, you're not going to get it. You're never going to get it. Why not? Why should I apply? But really, you found out that there's only 4 other people applying and there's a 25% chance. 25 is always a better number than 0, right? So, oh yay, I'm so glad that you were pumped up by something that I said that made you get out of your comfort zone. That is amazing. That is amazing. Yes, that's literally why I wrote the book and why I do the talks, just to get you out of your comfort zone. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so you can put your hand over your heart. You can, for some people, like their wrists. Some people like to warm their hands up like this. So you have to figure out what touch works for you. Some people, it's their ears. I know a lot of people do stuff for good luck with their ears, but just figure out, maybe a touch isn't for you right now, right? But for a lot of people, you're having connection issues. Oh no, I wonder why, Emily. Anybody else having connection issues? So find out what sort of part soothes you, right? I tried this once when I was having an argument with my husband Steve. And I was practicing one of these self-compassion exercises. And I have some book recommendations. And it said, try to have an argument with your partner while you hold hands. And I was like, this freaking guy, he's driving me up the effing wall. And I remember holding his hands. And it was really difficult to be angry with him holding his hands, right? And so... Oh, Rosalie, are you saying there's connection issues too? Yeah? You tend to hang a bit. I don't know. Do you know why? No? Okay. I don't know what's going on. But anyways, it was difficult to be angry with Steve while sort of having that physical touch of holding his hands. So anyways, that was just a self-compassion thing that I practiced. And then the second thing is a soothing vocalization. So soothing vocalization is, think about what you would say to somebody else. What would you say to somebody else if they had failed? Would you call them a friggin' loser like you call yourself? Would you tell them they were stupid like you tell yourself you're stupid? Would you tell them never to apply for anything again? Or would you pump them up? And so thinking about how you would talk to somebody else so that you can be kinder to yourself is another aspect of practicing self-compassion. So I'll give you some specific examples that these researchers gave in their book. Okay, so when you're going through that moment of anxiety or you're feeling overwhelmed, you can say, discomfort is part of life, and that's okay. Discomfort is part of life, and that's okay. It's sort of like a mantra that you repeat over and over just to sort of calm you down. And there's like 50 different phrases that you can use. You have to figure out a phrase that feels authentic and genuine for you. So I'm just going to read out some of the ones that the researchers had. So this is a moment of sadness. This is not forever. This is a moment of anxiety. This is not forever. This is a moment of discomfort. This is not forever, right? So you sort of repeat that, this is not forever. Or you say, today, I'm going to be kind to myself. Today, I'm going to be kind to myself. Today, I'm going to be kind. So for me, because I swear a lot, I actually have like some F-bombs that I use for my self-soothing, self-compassion thing, right? So I'm like, anyways, I swear, but I also use that phrase, I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm going to be fucking kind to myself, Maja. Be kind to yourself, right? And I kind of repeat those phrases. So you have to figure out a phrase that works for you, that feels authentic and genuine. Maybe write down 5 or 6 different phrases. So discomfort is a part of life. This is difficult. That's okay. This is an awful moment, but that's okay. This too shall pass. This is a moment of anxiety. It's not forever. So any of those sort of phrases Hi, Allison. Today I will be kind to myself, or I am learning a lesson. I am learning a lesson. I am learning. You literally just repeat that until those shitty comments move out of your head and you've calmed yourself down. Now, this could be something that takes you 20 seconds. Maybe it only takes you 10 seconds. Maybe it takes you 15 minutes to get those thoughts out of your head. Because I know of no study that shows shit talking works. That shows beating yourself up with negative comments is helpful. In fact, the research shows the complete opposite. That practicing self-compassion and practicing specific positive phrases can change our mindsets so that we don't have that fixed mindset, so that we truly believe that we are capable of greatness, of achieving all these great things that we want, right? So come up with these phrases, write them down, repeat them, put them in your phone on, like that microphone setting so that you can hear it to yourself, and practice that in those moments of failure when you're feeling overwhelmed. Okay, so what else did I want to talk about? Self-criticism doesn't inspire change. That's really the most important thing out of this whole thing. Self-criticism, when you fail, beating yourself up about it, doesn't move you forward. There's no research that shows beating yourself up, shit-talking yourself is helpful. You have to find what didn't work, look for that constructive feedback, that constructive criticism, and then you move forward, right? And so I want to give you a cool example of this girl. Her name is Marley Diaz. Can you see her? Can you see that? Here, let me see if I can show you a picture of her. She's pretty amazing. Can you see her? She's like, I think she's maybe like 15 years old now. Have I talked about this? Somebody stop me if I've already talked about this, but she started 1,000 Black Girl Books, and she is an African-American student in the States who was being asked to write book reports, and she noticed that all the book reports that they had to do had white female characters in it, and she was like, where are the Black female protagonists? Why are all the main characters white or men? Where are the Black women or the women of color doing something amazing? Not just talking about slavery, but women astronauts and CEOs, and where are all these other amazing... Yes, she did. She did. And her mother, who's a sociologist, and her were having breakfast, having pancakes one day, and she was complaining about this to her mom. And her mom said, well, what are you going to do about it? You're going to sit, you complain, and then go back to school and write the same book report? What are you going to do about it? And she thought, well, I'll start a hashtag. And she started the hashtag 1,000 Black Girl Books. And her goal was to get 10,000 books from across the U.S. donated to her school so that every single girl in every grade would have a book where they saw themselves represented and they saw a Black girl doing something great. And that hashtag went viral. And I saw her online. She was asked to speak at the Forbes 30 Under 30 Summit. And I saw her on the same stage as Sheryl Sandberg. And she held her own, and she was amazing, and she was commanding an audience, talking about how to be a young activist and how to believe in yourself. And it completely rocked my world because she was so young. And you think about people who do great things and you think, oh, they're older, they're wiser, they have all these degrees, all this knowledge, all this wealth of information. But she was just a kid. She still is just a kid. And she ended up, getting profiled on the Today Show, and she went on the Ellen DeGeneres Show. And then she wrote a book. I don't know if this is going to come out backwards on, but anyways, it says Marley Diaz gets it done, and so can you. And she wrote this book. It's like, it's all her words. There's no ghostwriter. She wrote this entire thing. How amazing is that? She wrote this entire thing. And she did it because she didn't think, am I too young? Do I know enough? She said, why not me? Why shouldn't I do this? Why shouldn't I write this book? Right? Like, how amazing is this? I have bought this book at least 10 times, and I give it as gifts for anyone as young as 5, for their parents to read, for up to, in their early 20s. Because she wrote a book at 14 because she felt like she had value. She was bringing value, and she wanted to share her message. And I think that's so important for all of us to remember, right? We all have value, and to believe in ourselves a little bit more. Believe in ourselves a little bit more. She would never have been able to write this book if she had that negative voice on replay. But instead, she looked at the progress. She looked at what she could do, and she just took a leap and went for it. And that's really what I hope you get out of anything that I do, is that it just pushes you to take some strategies to move out of your comfort zone. So I'm going to end it now. Thank you so much. I've taken up 45 minutes of your time. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching my TED Talk. Thank you for everything. If you want to get her book, you can buy it on Amazon or Indigo. Indigo actually, I believe, sells it in store too. And it's only $20. It's such an amazing book. And she's had, I think she's had close to 100,000 books donated. Like, the girl's doing amazing things. She's now working on an app. She is working, I think, on a second book. She went on a book tour. She's doing remarkable things. Thank you, Rosalie. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for watching. Happy Women's History Month. And I will see you later on. I'll be posting lots of videos this week because I'm out and about in the community giving a bunch of talks for International Women's Day this week. So I want to wish you all a fabulous week. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Good night. Good night.